Well, today we are actually going to be talking about my personal favorite topic, which is expireds. And I'm going to kind of go over all different aspects of expireds from start to finish. So if you want to interrupt, feel free, but chances are if you're getting too far ahead of me, it's something I will cover. Now, keep in mind, when I built my business, I started in New York. I was in Rockland County. So there might be some little nuances here. We don't have our PowerPoint here in the room, which is a challenge. I wonder if.
Look, why would you need it there?
Because the presentation is being shared, but you guys can't see it.
But you can share it, right?
Can you double click? Double click. See what
happens. Share it there.
Hold on. It's a real struggle here.
And you can share it there. Then what you can do is it a lot of slides?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say we need to print the slides out.
That seems like a complicated thing. Isn't this fun, you guys? Isn't technology just fun? So I guess the other option would be for you two to jump on Zoom so that you guys can see this.
Or Alyssa, if I know it's not ideal, but if you want to jump in the training room, that might be easier. Or if people just want to hop on Zoom somewhere else.
You guys tell me, would you prefer to go in the training room or would you prefer to just jump on Zoom for this?
So maybe
Fair. So why don't you guys probably jump on Zoom because that way we can just get started. Okay, so open Zoom. At least then that way you can see my screen because we can't get it on the slide. And then if you just want to mute, we can hang out here and I'll still teach you guys. Sure. All right. Okay, so here we are. So short version is I built my entire business with expireds. When I first came to real estate, I was brand new to this country. And so when they said, call everyone you know in order to get some business, I said, done. So what's next? So expireds were my choice, and we're going to kind of go over why that would be. So what we're going to go over today is, first and foremost, what are expired listings? Why did I choose expireds, and why maybe you should choose expireds? Where you get the numbers, what do you say, how do you convert them? And then we'll go over some common objections, and I'll give you some tips and tricks. On Zoomland, you guys are able to see my slides, yes? Someone give me a yes and or a thumb. Perfect. And I am not able to monitor the chat too easily, so keep that in mind. So in order to make sure I cover all of my bases, let me first start by telling you what even an expired is. So obviously, whenever an agent signs a listing agreement, they're signing for a certain period of time. Normally, that's going to be 6 months for like Rockland County, New York. I'm guessing here in Jersey, it's usually a 6-month contract as well, right? Yeah, 6 to a year. So obviously that listing is placed on the MLS and you're going to have to input, when did it start? When does it end? And so that contract period, when that passes, obviously the listing has now expired and the listing status is going to show in New York as an X. So that means that at that point, the seller is no longer represented by their agent. So before I go too into depth, you guys kind of got a little bit of a teaser, but like I said, when I first came to this country, I got my big girl job in New York City, and I was like doing marketing, and I felt like a rock star and whatever. And I had a boss that I absolutely hated. And so one day I flipped a table and I quit. Not really, I was very professional, but I quit 2 weeks before Christmas. And 2 weeks before Christmas, I went home to my then fiance. Thank God he still married me. And I said, I quit my job today. I'm done. I don't want to do marketing it. And he said, well, if you turn your sound off, we'll be good. And so he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, don't worry. I'm going to be a real estate agent. It's all good. And so January 1st of 2016, I was a real estate agent. Mentally, emotionally, I was an agent, but I had absolutely no idea what I was supposed to do. And so my coach at the time, because I was brand new, said, call everyone you know. And I said, well, done, because I don't know anyone. Everyone that I know is from a job that I just left because I hated. And that's it. That's everyone. I just moved to this country 6 months ago. And so they said, okay, well, your other options are for sale by owner, expired. We have some other options that are cold calling. And so I said, okay, great. I'll start calling expireds, because that seemed like, based on the fact that I had a marketing degree, it seemed like, okay, this could be a good fit because it seems like a marketing conversation, which is why they didn't sell. So I kind of view your options. That's fine. You can't see this. You would appreciate this slide. I kind of view your options in cold calling on a little bit of a spectrum. So everyone typically tells me that they hate cold calling, and especially new agents, they'll tell me, I don't want to cold call. And cold calling is not going to be for everyone. We've all heard like horror stories of people who they hang up on you, or they swear at you, or they get mad, or whatever. But the reality is, like, no one's ever died from cold calling. Like, you might bruise your ego a little bit, but you're not going to die. Like, you'll be okay. But with that being said, there are levels to this. And that's why you have this screen in front of you. So in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you have easier conversations and more difficult conversations. And you have to really pick what you're most comfortable with. And the harder the conversation is, the fewer the people that are doing it. And so on the easy side of conversations would be like you're just listed and you're just sold calls. Because really, you're just providing information. This is when you're calling up someone and you're saying, hey, just wanted to let you know your neighbor just listed their home. Do you happen to know anyone who wants to move into the area? Oh, awesome. Do you know anyone who's thinking about selling? Most people are not going to say, how dare you call me and tell me my neighbor's moving? Like, F off. They're not going to do that because you're providing information. So I'd say that's a pretty easy conversation. Then you have more of like the geo farming, the hot market conversation, the hot neighborhood script, where you're calling them and you're telling them that you're a local expert, or that their neighborhood is super hot and, wondering if they're thinking about selling. So again, that's usually a pretty friendly conversation. Usually it's like good news for them if their neighborhood is pretty hot and you have buyers that want to move in. But you will get some that say like, I'm never selling my house, I'll die here. But for the most part, it's like a pretty nice, friendly conversation. Then I'd say in the middle, in between like the super easy conversations and the difficult conversations, are your for sale by owners. So these are the people who are trying to sell their home on their own. These are not necessarily friendly, especially when you identify yourself as a realtor, because they don't see value in a realtor. But if you have a buyer, at the end of the day, their goal is to sell their home. And most for sale by owners will kind of know that this conversation is coming, and they'll have their script around, yeah, bring me a buyer and I'll bring you give you your 2% or whatever it may be. So they've raised their hand. They've said they want to sell, but they're not necessarily interested in talking to you. So I put that kind of in the middle. After that is your expireds, which we'll talk about in a second. But I would say the most difficult cold call that you can make are probate leads. These are leads where someone has died and you are calling in order to say, hey, someone died and I would love to sell their house. Now, I've never made probate calls because I think that's probably a pretty difficult conversation to have. So I don't know what those scripts are, but if you want to chase those, God bless. In my opinion, those are like, yeah, those are probably the most difficult conversations. So I'd say expireds are like not quite that challenging. No one's died. But with expireds, this person does not want to speak to you. They are frustrated. They've just been on the market for 6+ months. They were often either lied to or they just simply weren't educated, and they probably don't see the value in a realtor again. So you have to really take a step back, put yourself in their shoes and say, okay, I just was on the market. Someone told me they were going to sell my house, and for 6 months, nothing happened. And now the day that I expire, all these people are calling me. That's annoying. Like, where were you guys when my house was on the market if you have buyers to sell? But again, the point is these sellers have raised their hand. You know that these people want to sell because literally yesterday they were trying to sell their house. And they obviously saw value in an agent at some point. So the question is now, can you show that whatever trust that they've lost in working with their previous agent, that they can still trust you as their agent? So I want to share some facts with you guys about expireds. Before I do that, any questions so far? All good. Okay. So here are some facts about expireds. 15%, 15 to 25% of all listings nationally do not sell. That's a lot. Only 28% will relist with their current agent. So about 1 in 4 are going to relist with their current agent. 35% will leave their home off the market for a month or more. And then statistics indicate that most of these will end up relisting with another agent within 90 days. 37% will relist with a new agent within 30 days. And most that relist will do so with the agent who contacts them on their first or second day off the market. So that's pretty interesting because to me, that says low-hanging fruit. If 25% of all of the listings are not going to sell and 37% of them are going to relist within 30 days, that's pretty good for me to bet my odds and start making some calls. So quickly, tell me why listings even expire. Anyone? Give me some thoughts. Price, 100%. Anything else?
I think that's like the main factor.
I agree with you. It's definitely the main
I mean,
factor.
You don't really need to do tons of marketing to get a house sold with price right.
I agree with you. Yeah. So price. Anything else?
I mean,
Zoomland, anything else?
let's, you take it one step further, just undesirable, the condition,
Condition,
and then
Esteban
I'll
says.
probably lead back to price anyway.
Yes. Yeah. Typically, it boils down to 3 things. One of 3 things. Number 1 is price. Listings expire because the market rejects them.
Mhm.
So either the marketing effort, which includes the price, the condition, which can be the location, or a combination. So it comes down to price, condition, and marketing effort.
Yep.
That's it. Now, the really good thing about this news that it boils down to price, condition, or marketing is that you can control and fix these things. So believe it or not, many of the expired listings that I've taken in my career, they actually didn't need price reductions because we've seen a lot of new agents that have entered the business that simply don't know how to properly market a property or how to consult their client on improving the condition of the property before putting it on the market. And so there's a lot that don't necessarily need price reductions, but I would say the vast majority, it boils down to price. And so when you look at you and the seller are the ones who control the price. The seller with your guidance is going to control the condition and you control the marketing. All of these things are very fixable. How many times have we seen listings that are on the market with literally 1 photo? Yeah, they might be priced right, but they have 1 photo. Like that's probably why you expired. Or there's cell phone pictures or pictures with the little date stamp at the bottom that are blurry. Like there's a lot. Or you look at the pictures and it's super crowded and it's horrible and there's a green wall and all of these things that you could have consulted them on. So let's get down to the meat and potatoes, because hopefully you're seeing that there's a big opportunity here. And especially as we're moving into this new season of real estate where things are not selling quite as quickly and quite as aggressively as they have in the past. Things are not flying off the shelf, even if they're horrible. It's going to take some marketing and some condition advising in order to do well with your listings. So let's jump in and let's talk the deeds. So the first question I always get is, where do I get the phone numbers? And when I first got into real estate, if you guys are able to see my screen, my sponsor drew this little graph for me. And he essentially explained to me that in the beginning, you've got a lot of free time and not a whole lot of money because you're brand new. You don't have a whole lot of business going on and you want to lead with revenue. So you don't want to start spending money that you don't have. But as you get busier in the business, you can see on this graph, your free time is going to start to go down. Your money is going to start to go up. Hopefully. In real estate, you either have a lot of time or you have a lot of money or both, but it's never neither. You can't tell me you have no money and no time. Like that's just not how it works in real estate. If it is, then you need a coach and we can talk. But when it comes to expired phone numbers, you have so many options and some are going to be more expensive and some are going to be more time saving than others. So I view it kind of like this. When you first have no business and you have a lot of free time and no money, you can look up the information in the MLS and then you can go and Google that number, see if you can find them on Free People Search or if you can find them somewhere on many of these different search profiles where you can look for people's names. You could pay for a cheap, it's a cheap way to look up their information. I'm blanking on the word of what. Skip tracing. Thank you. You can skip trace that information and there's cheaper ways to do it. So that I would say is much more of like the old fashioned method. Once you start to make at least a little bit of money, you should probably pay for a lead source. And there are tons of different lead sources that you can, if you just Google expired leads, you can get all kinds of ones. Arc Agent is one. It's about $40. All you get is the phone numbers. You're just going to smile and dial with your 2 fingers yourself. RedX, same thing. That one's about $60 a month. It's just going to be phone numbers. Land Voice is usually between $90 and $150 a month. That's going to be the phone numbers, and you're going to get a little bit of a CRM where you can log the information. So as you start to decide, hey, this is something that I'm really going to commit to spend the $40 a month or the $50 a month, like it's probably worth it in order to get going.
PropWire too, where you pay per 10 cents per skip trace.
PropWire, for those of you guys who didn't hear, 10 cents per skip trace.
It's literally load your wallet and pay for what you want.
Perfect. Yeah, so that's going to be the old-fashioned way. You're going to look up on the MLS, what is that? And then you're going to type it into PropWire and see what comes up and smile and dial. As you start to get some experience and you start to see some success and you're comfortable with your scripts and you're actually going on appointments, you're going to realize, hey, I've got a little bit of money to spend on this and I'm seeing some level of success. So I'm going to double down. And now it's time to add leverage. And that piece of leverage is going to be a dialer. And so Vulcan 7 is probably like the main one. This is an old slide. It's not $230 anymore. It's more like $350 a month. Espresso Agent is another one that's going to have a dialer, and then they have like video emails too. Mojo is a triple line dialer, so that's going to be even more intense, and that's like $300 a month. So you have a lot of options. The dialer is going to make your life easier because it's going to automatically just keep calling. You're not going to have to sit there and go 201 123. It's just going to automatically go, and so that's going to add a lot of leverage to you because now it's just going, and it's going to free up quite a bit of your time. And then the next step, once you've really got some money coming in and you've totally maxed out your time, you have no free time left, now it's time to add people leverage. So this can come in the form of an ISA, which is someone who's going to make the calls for you. There's all kinds of companies. I just listed a few here, but ultimately this is going to lead to your first administrative hire. And that's exactly what happened with me. When I first started, I skipped a few steps. I had a little bit of money in my budget and I knew expireds were going to be my one thing. I wasn't going to spend money on anything else. So day one, January 1st, I got Vulcan 7 and that had a dialer built in. And my very first day, I called for 3 straight hours. And then I had a 3-hour block in the afternoon for appointments. And I didn't have any appointments, so I called for another 3 straight hours. So I called for 6 straight hours with a dialer, which means that it's just going. There's no time to think. It's just going. I'm practicing my scripts. I'm screwing up my scripts. That's okay. I'm learning as I'm going. And day 5, January 5th, I got my first listing appointment. And it was for $1.4 million. And I went to the property and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I went with no paperwork, no listing presentation, nothing, because I didn't know what I was doing. And I figured, you know what? I'm not going to get this listing, but that's okay. It's practice. And I went, I had a conversation with the agent or with the seller. I spoke to her about, here's why I think your house didn't sell. You got 12 photos. They're all dark. They're blurry. This house is beautiful. There's a couple opportunities that I see where, why aren't we highlighting this kitchen? Why aren't we highlighting this? Look at this view. It happened to be in Nyack, New York, right on the water. It was great. And at the end of it, I said to her, I think we need to target people who are coming from New York in order to, that are coming out of New York. They're going to see a lot of value in a property like this. And she said, I came from New York. I came out from the city. And that's exactly what I did. And she said, so do we sign paperwork now or do you have to come back? And I was like, no, I didn't want to pressure you. I didn't even have the paperwork. I didn't even know what the paperwork was. So I was like, I didn't want to pressure you. I'll come back this afternoon. We can sign paperwork and we'll get going. Then I ran back to my office and I said, what do I do? I don't even have paperwork. And then my mentor showed me what paperwork to do. And then I go back to that. So this is the paperwork. You just sign here, 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 as if I had done this before. I had no idea. And at the end of that whole process, I ended up double ending that transaction. And I made on that deal more money than I had at my full-time job the previous year. That's a great story. It also took 30 hours of calling in order to get there. But will I do 30 hours worth of work for everything that I made the year before? You bet I will. Absolutely. 1 week's worth of work instead of working for the whole year? Yeah, I'll take that. And the best part of it was whenever I was chatting with her at the closing, she said to me, I was with this agent. They told me they were going to sell the property. I needed to sell. There's a whole backstory there that I won't get into, but if you want a fun story over drinks sometime, let me know. And she said, I didn't know what to do. And thank God you called because you were like an angel. You came in, you knew what you were doing. You got the property sold. Thank God for you. And I was like, this is pretty cool. Now, did I go through a lot of like F-offs, don't ever call me again? Sure. But was it nice to have somebody say like, thank God for you. I didn't know what to do. And then you called. That's pretty cool. So let's keep it moving. What do you even say whenever you get people on the phone? Because now you know where to find the numbers. Now we got to start getting ready to actually make some calls. So that means it's time to talk about scripts. And spoiler alert, I love scripts. Scripts are like the best thing ever to me. Now, I don't like the idea of scripts because when people think of scripts, a lot of times they think of like a robot calling and saying the exact same thing over and over and over. And what I have found is that you have to find a script that sounds like you. And then you're going to then role play that script a million times in order to get really comfortable with it. And then you're going to pivot away from the parts you don't like and paraphrase the parts that you do like. So where do you find the scripts? Well, spoiler alert, if you Google expired scripts, there's like 14 million search results. There's so many. As Esteban just said, you can chat GPT an expired script at this point. Finding the scripts is not hard. If you're looking for the perfect script, that's going to be pretty hard because the perfect script doesn't exist. I'm going to share with you guys at the end my personal script. I'll put it in the chat so that you guys can play around with it. But you're going to see it's the same script that like everybody else is using. I've just made a couple tweaks here and there. But the point is find a script that works for you that's like 90% of the way there and then tweak it as you go. You'll be more than happy with what you come out with. And the best part is ultimately, when you're using scripts, this is going to help to guide the conversation so that you don't have to think about what am I going to say next. You can actually listen to what people are saying. So here are your steps. Find a script that you like, find a role play partner, and practice every day. If you can't find a role play partner, at least just read that script out loud to yourself 3 or 4 times before you start making your calls. Now you can use ChatGPT to role play with you if you wanted to. That's pretty cool. Talk to me about that afterwards. Memorize and internalize your scripts. You're still going to have that script in front of you, but you want to internalize what that is. So that way you always have your map, your roadmap, but ultimately you don't really have to think about it. And then master it before moving on. This is my personal thought. A lot of people, when they get into the business, they say, I want to do FSBOs, expireds, and circle prospecting. Whoa, that's a lot. Those are 3 totally different levels of difficulty on the spectrum that I showed you. So my personal thought is find something that you want to do, go all in 100% on that and only that until you've mastered it, and then you can move on. And with that being said, once you've picked a script, stop trying to find a better script. Whatever you have is fine. Doing something is better than trying to continuously change and do something different. So we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. All right. Any questions at this point before we move on? Let me check the chat and see if there's any questions so far. No, all good. All right, let's keep it moving. So the next thing is how we're going to actually convert these expired listings. So let's talk about the plan in order to get these listings. Now, KW culture is that we don't swear. And I really try to be a good representation of Keller Williams culture. But I would love your guys' permission to just use one swear word for this presentation. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
I only got one yes, but in the chat they said, go for it. Okay, perfect. So the step number 1 in order to convert expired listings is to get on the fucking phone. You have to pick up the phone and actually make your calls. Whoa, it's crazy, right? Now I understand this is really hard and scary, and people are going to tell you why people are so mean and all of this stuff, but I can promise you it's gonna be okay. I already told you the story of my first listing. It took 30 hours of no's to get there. But would you be willing to deal with 30 hours of no in order to make 70 grand-ish? I think so. I think so. So the first step is just get on the phone. And that's gonna be the step that most people fall off. That's going to be the step that most people never quite get to. So if you can get through step number 1, chances are you can get through the rest of them. Step number 2 is going to be refine your system as you go. At first, you're not going to have a system. Your whole system is going to be call, set the appointment, go on the appointment, try to get the listing. But as you start making these appointments, you're going to start to develop a better system that works for you. So you might add in letters for those of the listings that you don't get on the phone the first time, or postcards, or you might put together some kind of a packet to mail or email them. We'll talk about that a little bit later. You might have a custom listing presentation specifically for expireds that's a little bit different than your listing presentation for your sphere of influence. So as you get a feel for what people are asking you and what needs to be addressed, you're going to start to refine your system. And if you're getting a lot of people on the phone, you might build in some kind of a phone follow-up plan where an automatic text goes out or video text or whatever. If you're not getting people on the phone, you might figure out, okay, what's my criteria to go and knock on certain doors that I really want those listings or whatever the case may be. So you're going to work on this as you go, but in the beginning, your system is call, set the appointment. And then you'll add from there. Then it's your step number 3 is going to be keep calling, follow up. That's it. That's the whole thing. That is the gold. If you can just get on the phone, make your calls, and keep calling, you will get appointments and listings. And that's all there is to it. And when you first get on the phone, you're going to say, wow, my scripts, they're not great, they really suck. And your scripts are going to get better because you're going to practice, hopefully practicing with other agents and not practicing on the potential clients. And then when you go in person, your appointment, you're going to say, man, I could have done this better. I could have had a better presentation or whatever. And you're going to tweak that. And then you're going to get really good on the appointments and you're going to start taking listings. And then you might make some mistakes with your listings, and that's okay. The only way to get better is time on task over time. That's it. So get on the phone, get on the bleeping phone, refine your systems as you go, and then just keep calling and keep following up. That's it. That's all there is to it. Any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns, jokes?
You were calling 3 hours a day for the most part, and doubling down on when you didn't have appointments.
Correct.
So you were basically working 6-hour days.
Correct. Yep.
Which is better than your typical 8 to 10-hour days in corporate America.
Yep.
That's what I'm
My
saying.
schedule was I had an accountability partner who basically was just somebody in the office that I said, listen, I need to be here by 8. I need to be here by 8 o'clock in the morning. And they said, okay, so do I. And so I said, all right, I'll race you. If you're not here by 8, you owe me $1. If I'm not here by 8, I owe you $1. Like whatever, friendly competition. So I would get into the office by 8 and I would do all the bullshit that you do. Sorry, it's second swear word of the class. Check your emails, check your Facebook, blah, 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 poke around on what website should I create, like stupid stuff. And then at 9 o'clock, I was on the phone. From 9 to 12 on the phone. And I take a break. And from 1 to 4, I had 1 hour time blocks for appointments. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. If I didn't have appointments, just back on the phone. And if I did have appointments, great. I probably was using that time to prep for the appointments. I wasn't actually getting back on the phone for 2 out of 3 of those hours. But that was it. That was my whole day. And the only thing I did was expireds. No database, no FISBOs, no door knockers, no client events, nothing, just expired. My first year in the business, I listed 27 properties. 26 of them were expired. It's pretty good. It's rookie of the year, cap. It's very exciting. It's a great time. Great time to be in real estate. So one of the questions that people usually ask me is, what are the common objections?
When your fiance said, I'll definitely marry you now.
Well, what's funny is, not only did I have a great first year in the business, but he was my fiance at the time. Great first year in the business. And then for his birthday, which was in April the following year, I went and I bought him an Audi cash. And it's a baller move to go buy a brand new Audi in cash, but it was fun. And then I mean, usually you don't hand someone keys to their dream car for their birthday, but I did. No regrets. It was awesome. So that's the power of expireds. Expireds equal Audis. I should put that in like a shirt or something. So the main objections that you're going to get are pretty much the same thing over and over. We're going to list it ourselves. Oh, we changed our mind. How'd you get my number? You're going to have the same objections every single time. So if you're able to master those objections, you're going to be fine. And I'm going to show you guys my script in just a second. And basically, here's my system. We've kind of already talked about this, but I would call for 3 hours every single day. On day 1, they would get a letter from me. And this was the letter. Are you ready? It's very, very complicated. I would print off the MLS sheet. So just take the expired MLS sheet, print it off. And in a red marker, I would write, I know why your house didn't sell. Please call me. And then I would put my business card in the letter and send it out. Now, we're only talking about at that time, I only did 1 county and that was it. So I would have probably maybe 8 to 12 new expireds a day. You can handle 8 to 12 a day, yep, at that time. And you can handle that many. You can definitely handle that many letters. Even now, today in Bergen County, you're only getting 10 to 15 expireds a day. And on slow days, you're getting like 5.
Yeah.
But they're still happening. There's still expireds today in Bergen County. On day 5, they would get a postcard from me. That one was like a little bit more professional. I had a little stack of postcards that say like, I'd love to interview to sell your home. And it had a little like, bullet points. I used to always say to people, I've never had a listing expire, which was true because I had never had a listing. So that made it easy. And then I would just ride that forever because I never did have a listing expire. So it said that on my postcard. Then I would email or mail, if they didn't have an email because they were older or whatever, my pre-listing packet before every appointment. And I can show you guys what my pre-listing packet looked like. I always brought a gift to every appointment. It was a little money tree, very cliche. And I would bring them the little money tree, and I would use the line that everyone uses. My mom always told me never to show up empty-handed, so I wanted to bring you this little gift. I cannot tell you how many people were like, oh my God, this is the nicest thing ever. It was like this little, I think they were like the 5-inch money trees that you can get at Home Depot. And I would buy like 20 of them at a time because I was going on a lot of listing appointments. And I had on the outside of the little jar thing, my logo, my little sticker, because now it's marketing. Now it's not a gift. So put a sticker on it and whatever. So I brought that to every appointment. And I would tell them, I'm really hoping that this is indicative of our relationship. It's a money tree. So yeah. And they thought it was cute, whatever, funny. It's stupid, but like it's an icebreaker, whatever. We did staging on every single listing. So on homes where they're living in them, I would bring in a stager and I would have a free to them staging consultation. And the stager is going to walk through the entire property with them, and room by room, she's going to create a report. Every stager will do this. You just have to ask them. They're going to create a report room by room to say, get rid of this couch, paint this wall, remove that, move this to this side of the, and they're going to go through and do it. That addressed the condition. So now I don't have to worry about condition because I have a professional stager coming in. If it's a vacant property, I'm doing staging, of course. So that's going to be built into my fee. So it's going to be a little bit more expensive if we're doing full furniture staging. And then I would always write up a contract that they would sign their listing agreement and they would sign a price reduction dated for 21 days from that date. And I would explain to them, there's only 3 reasons your house doesn't sell: condition, price, and marketing. I have a marketing degree. Marketing's good. We're all set with marketing. Here's all the million things that I'm going to do in terms of marketing. In terms of condition, I'm going to pay for a stager to come to the property and walk the property, and they're going to give you a checklist of everything you need to do. The only thing left is price. Here's my professional opinion of where this house is going to sell. At the end of the day, you've already been through this. And if the market rejects this price, there is nothing else. No magic marketing is going to make your house magically worth more money than it's worth. And if the market rejects your price, we're going to know at day 21. And so what we're going to do is right now today, we're going to sign a price reduction for 21 days from now. And that means that on day 21, the price will drop. We're not going to get to day 21. I am confident that this is what's going to happen. But at the end of the day, I don't have a crystal ball. And that's the way that this works. And if they're not willing to do that, I'm not willing to take the listing. Because I've never had a listing expire. So I'm not going to sit with listings on the market that are not going to sell. Any questions? At the end of the day, it really boils down to your scripts and setting appointments. Master your scripts, get on the phone, and that's really all there is to it. I'll close with a couple of my final thoughts, some little tips and tricks, and then I'll show you guys my script and open it up for questions and get you guys out of here a couple minutes early. So first and foremost, don't spend money that you don't need to. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people want to get like this whole perfect system set up before they start making calls, and they want to figure out what's my gift and what's my listing presentation, and let me send that off to a printer, and let me get some folders made, and let me figure out my logo, and I need a website. You don't need any of that. None of it. All you need to do is get on the phone. So don't spend money on some fancy, amazing dialer that's going to be a triple line dialer, and it's all the same data. So it's just a matter of what can I afford right now in order to make my life easier. And if I can't, then I got to do it a little bit of the hard way, but that's okay too. So the other tip I would have, we touched on this a little bit earlier, is pick a method of cold calling that fits your style and your brand and what you're comfortable with. If you're hearing all of this saying, I don't know if I want to call expired if they're going to be mean to me, that's fine. Then call a neighborhood, do some circle prospecting. They're not going to be mean to you. Like I said, nobody gets mad at you for saying, hey, I wanted to let you know your neighbor's house just sold. I went way over asking, do you happen to know anyone in your neighborhood who's going to sell? No, I don't. Okay, great. Thanks for thinking about that. Bye. No one's going to yell at you. So pick something that's going to work for you and that you're comfortable with and that you can commit to. The other thing I would say is choose at least one day a week. Pick a different time to call. My time was always 9 to 12 because that's what made sense for me and I could get it out of the way. But the reality is I'm not always going to get everyone from 9 to 12. So can you pick a Thursday to do from 5 to 8 instead of the 9 to 12, just to stagger it a little bit so that those people who can't answer their phone while they're at work Monday through Friday still have an opportunity to take your call. And maybe do a Saturday once a month, whatever. This is a numbers game. It's all about just doing it over and over and over. Yep, picking up the bleeping phone. So if you're going to plug into a power hour, that's going to be great, where you can get some accountability and maybe an opportunity to listen to other people make calls before you get comfortable. There are countless hours of YouTube videos of people who are making live prospecting calls. You can just Google live expired calls, and there's hundreds of agents that will do their calls live, so you can hear what that conversation looks like. But get a script partner. KW has a lot of resources. And there's a lot of people in our offices that are more than willing to partner up with you and do scripts.
Yep.
So that's what I got for you. I'm going to show you guys my script really quickly, and I will share it with you guys in the chat. I'll share it with you guys as well.
Thank you, Alyssa.
My pleasure. Let's see here. Let me share. And if anyone has any questions in the meantime, hit me with them. Expired script. Look at that. So this is my tried and true expired script after years and years worth of trial and error. And basically, it's going to start the exact same way every single time. I'm going to go through this quickly, and then I'll turn it over to questions. Usually from the first, hi, is this whomever, you're going to know whether or not they're in a bad mood. So when you say, hi, is this, you're going to have the homeowner's name in front of you. Hi, is this Sally? And they say, who's this? Then I'm going to jump to the rude opening. If they say, yeah, this is Sally, how can I help you? Then I'm going to jump to the nice opening. And if I don't know, I'm going to jump straight to the nice opening. Hey, Sally, my name's Alyssa. I'm sure I'm like the millionth realtor to call you this morning, right? Yeah, you are. Well, I see your house came off the market. I was just wondering, have you guys given up on getting that sold? And then they're going to tell me all of the reasons and blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to go through the script. Well, from the pictures I have, it really looks like a beautiful home. And if there aren't any pictures, I'm going to say, well, we're in such a strong seller's market. I'm kind of shocked that it didn't sell. Any idea why? And then they're going to chit chat. The idea is to get information and to keep them talking and to have them tell me why they think the property didn't sell. When you guys were on the market, did you guys have a lot of showings, any offer? Oh, really? That's interesting. What did your agent say was the reason that it didn't sell? Oh my gosh, that's interesting. Your agent didn't tell you anything. Wow, how did you choose that agent? Just out of curiosity. Oh, gotcha. That makes sense. So Sally, in your opinion, why do you think the property didn't sell? And they're going to tell you. Well, if the property had sold, are you staying local or are you guys relocating altogether? I'm going to Florida. That's exciting. What's taking you to Florida? Oh, the grandkids. Awesome. Good for you. How soon were you guys hoping to be there? Oh, last summer. Gotcha. And then I'm going to close for the appointment. Listen, the reason I'm calling is because my primary business is repositioning properties that have been on the market for a while and didn't sell. I'm sure you know, once a property sits, buyers start to think, oh my gosh, there must be something wrong with it, even if that's not the case. So I specialize in repositioning properties that have been on the market in order to get them sold and ultimately get you to Florida with your grandkids. So it sounds like you do still want to sell the property, right? Awesome. When would be the best time for us to get together for 15 minutes just so I can share with you why your house didn't sell the first time and how I can get it sold for you and get you to Florida? Do weekends or weekdays tend to work better for you? And then that's my script every time, every single time. And then down here, I have all of the different objections that they could potentially give me. And what you're going to notice is that for all of these different objections, I'm either going to handle the objection and ask for the appointment, or I'm going to handle the objection and go back to my script. So when they say, oh, we changed our minds, we're not going to sell. Oh, gotcha. So are you guys leaving the house off the market completely? Yeah, we're going to take it off the market. Okay. Is that because your plans changed, or do you think financially it doesn't make sense anymore? So just out of curiosity, if the house had sold, where were you planning on going? Back to the script. Every single thing is going to either say, I'm going to close for the appointment. Do weekdays or weekends tend to work better for you? Do weekdays or weekends tend to work better for you? Every single one. Or it's going to say back to script. Most of them are going to close for the appointment right there. And I have all of the objections right here. I'll have my script in front of me. And as I'm going through this, if they say, oh, where were you when my house was on the market? Well, then I can just click this, jump to it. That's probably the most important question that you need an answer to, right? And I've practiced all of these. I'm sure you guys can hear, like, from my tone, I'm pretty confident with these scripts. And that's going to be the most important thing, is your tone throughout all of this. So I'm going to go ahead and share this with you guys. Let me see here. I need anyone with the link. Yep. Copy link. So you'll be able to view this. If you want to make edits, all you're going to need to do is just go to File, make a copy, and then you'll be able to edit this for yourself. So let me go ahead and put this in the chat. Kapow, there you go. And that's what I got for you today. What questions do you have? No question. I answered everything so perfectly that nobody has any question. So how many of you are actually going to go make some like expired calls? Uh-oh, I did a really bad job then. David says me, woo, yes. Again, it doesn't have to be expires. I just want you guys to find some kind of a lead generation source that is now business that you can commit to. And if I can help you guys in any way, not only do I run our coaching program for all 5 of our offices, but I personally coach agents as well. So if you're looking for someone who could potentially coach you and be an accountability partner, you need to either get into some kind of coaching or find that partner. So reach out to me if you have any interest in learning about our coaching program. We have coaching in all 5 of our offices. Our coaches are awesome, and they can help you to put together a business plan and get on the right track.